$50 fine too.
All right, we're live now.
Birds.
I'm gonna go live too. All right, hey, we're at Thursday Church for another edition of the Community Conversation. We are so glad you're here, and so glad everybody's here with us. Tonight, since we're at Thursday Church, and the theme here at Thursday Church that I know oh so well because of my wonderful, glorious mother, is they do church differently. So tonight, we're going to think about doing things differently throughout the city. Big ideas, because I like big ideas. Councilman, do you like big ideas?
Love big ideas.
He's a big idea guy.
Yeah.
Food truck.
Food trucks.
Big idea.
Yeah.
Big idea. So we'll talk a little bit about ourselves. We'll give a little bit of an intro, and then we'll go into some of the things that we'd like to see happen in the city. If you've got a question, crowd, feel free to shout it out if you've got it. Or if you're in Facebook world, feel free to just simply post it, and we'll get back to you. So, without further ado, Mark McNeese is coming in right here. He'll enter himself. Hey, it's Mark.
On my Facebook Live feed, you will be able to see this going on as well. I'm running for City Council at large. No confusion there. I was just thinking about my two cameras going on right now. I'm happy to be with two elected officials at this particular time, and two of the what I would consider the most outstanding elected officials we have. And we will get into our big ideas, how we're going to make it a different approach to the city of Vincennes. But we have a special guest tonight.
Yes, very special.
And the food truck master.
King of the food truck.
King of the food trucks.
Yes.
But we're going to let Brian do some introduction of himself, maybe to a different group, and then also talk about some of the things he's done while he's on the council before we start taking questions and doing that thing. Is that how you do it? That's how
I want to hear Brian's origin story.
Oh,
his origin story. We'll let Brian get it.
I'm Brian Grove, and I am District 1 councilman. I was elected 3.5 years ago, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time on the council. I feel like we've gotten a lot done. We're making some progress, and big ideas are the key to making any city grow. And when you're on council, you're constantly trying to come up with the big idea. And I think Tim and I have worked together really well, and we've came up with some good things. I know everybody thinks of the food trucks. It has been a huge hit, and it was just one of those lucky things. It was an idea my family and a couple other people were involved in, and it was thinking, will it work? I have no idea, but we might as well try. And to do that, I went and wrote an ordinance to get passed, so we have some sort of regulations. I'm not a regulator, but they wanted some rules on it, so we did that. We added some rules and got it rolling, and it has been a landslide. It's been awesome. I know last night, probably well over 2,000 people down there. We've got some media coverage that we didn't expect, and it has just been awesome.
I think the biggest thing that I like about food trucks is the community aspect, because you're not just going down there to eat.
No.
You're going down there to listen to music. You're going down there to socialize and sit with friends. And the thing that's really neat now, and specifically last night, people bringing their own chairs. And they're just sitting.
We had a group of retired teachers that had formed a circle and just spent the entire, I think they got down there close to opening, and they were there almost till 9 o'clock last night. So it's cool. It really has brought the community together, and it's a place to go hang out, and we've had some really good results.
So on the food truck side of this, you got to also talk about not only the community, not only the sense of using a space that's been created in the Riverwalk, but I come from small business, and each one of these individuals that own those food trucks are now entrepreneurs in our city that are buying supplies, they're buying those things, and they also employ people. There's people inside those food trucks, and they're making payments on their houses, they're paying taxes, they're going to church, they're making donations. So supporting small business at the very micro level, which was what I would consider a food truck, now has just blossomed in our town, and it's been a nice little, its own restaurant incubator, if you want to know the truth, and put them all together, it's brought more and more people there. So, job well done.
Yeah.
Okay, can I interrupt?
Yes, you can interrupt, please.
Okay, all right. So last night I had a question that I couldn't answer about the food truck thing.
Sure.
So now this has grown, and now people are wanting to take part, and some of the people who want to take part physically can't walk down there. And one of the ladies last night, she happens to be in the medical profession, she said, is there anything like a golf cart or anything like that? And I said, I have no idea, but I know where I can find out tomorrow night, and I will let you know.
It's a great question. When we first started, it was a big issue because there is a pretty incline. You got to walk up. So I kind of not teamed up, but I went to Oregon Battery and Electric, and they are such a community supporter.
Right.
I was wanting to maybe rent a cart or something like that, and they said, absolutely not. You show up, you get the cart, you have it anytime you want. And we did that for all of last year. We got a cart. My kids drove it. Eddie Cornell drove it one night. And we would circle around, try and picking people up, and we did not have any interest in it at all. We tried it again this year because I had some people, and I put my contact information, my kids' contact information, whoever was driving the cart, calling, but I'm more than willing to bring that every
Well, I
Monday.
know
Yeah.
there's a coloring group. I know that sounds weird, but
No.
there's a coloring group that meets here, and there were 14 of them last night. And they, some of them are older, and some of them are physically not able.
Sure.
But they have already decided they're hitting the food truck next Monday night.
Well,
So
make sure and send me a message because
Okay,
we will.
I will.
And we were kind of hit with the table ordeal where we used to have that. I was using my trailer to go get the golf cart. So we will have it worked out by Monday
Okay.
to where we have that golf cart. And again, hopefully this gets the message out too.
Okay,
We will
cool.
have that available, and don't feel, like you're imposing. I mean, that's what we're getting it for. That's what we want
Awesome.
people to be able to come down and enjoy it. And it can be a round trip thing. So don't feel like you're going to get stuck down there.
Okay.
We'll come and get you. We'll pick you up. We'll drive you.
Okay.
I'll drive you right to a truck
That's
and
great.
drop you off. And there's picnic tables down there now. Everybody can.
Okay.
They were full last night, but there is going to be
Restrooms at the pavilion are open as well?
Yes.
How can they contact you if they do have a question?
Yeah, my phone number, my personal cell phone, which is lagging, streaming now, but 812-881-5048.
881-5.
5048. And that's
Okay.
that's the phone I have with me all the time.
And he answers it a lot, trust me.
Yeah.
I'm always calling.
Yeah.
Well, cool. They will be thrilled. That's
Yes.
exciting.
I go to the first church that got up, like based here and do devotions there. I'm also a Campbell Assistance for Veterans Memorial of America. We have a food bank. I've told Pastor Betty, she knows about it. I came here, the reason that for that, let you guys know that the veteran needs food, they can get a hold of us and get food from us. Because our food bank is just for veterans. And we also help out with their benefits and stuff. And we're connected for United Way here, Posey, and Vanderbilt. We're all connected together on this.
Right, so a veterans food bank, is that, all right, so what we'll do is we'll get the contact information, we'll post this on a comment below so people can know.
What I want to know is if you guys need a flyer for that, I can get you one.
Okay, yeah, we'll get that, yeah. Love to get that information so we can get it out to our veterans so they know that it's there. So we do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So, Brian, we know that you've done the food trucks or started this, but what are some of the other, big issues you look forward to in the coming few years for the city of Vincennes? That's one of the questions I want to ask. I mean, you're my councilman right now.
Yeah.
I hope you join me, but I'm asking you these questions as well.
Unfortunately, it's kind of the same as what it was 4 years ago. My biggest thing is infrastructure and sidewalks, streets, and I would love to see Vincennes be more of a walking, biking community. My family, we walk the area a lot, and the sidewalks in some of these areas are just atrocious, and we have to improve the way we are getting sidewalks repaired. Tim and I both advocated for more money to be spent on sidewalks. The process that we have in place now is not working. There's supposed to be a list, and I just feel like that really has to be addressed in the next 4 years of how we are getting more sidewalks repaired.
Yeah, just streamline the process. So, like, we can put a lot of money in something, but if people don't know how to access it. So this sidewalk program that we have is fantastic. I think it's one of the best programs that we have in the community where, hey, if I've got a bad sidewalk in front of me, it's a 50-50 split. You just go to the city, you go to the inspector's office, and you fill out the paperwork. But sometimes the paperwork's a little mundane, or you don't know what you need to fill out, or the information that you need to have, or how much money you need to have up front. I mean, it's kind of confusing because we haven't done a good job of promoting something like that and getting the right information out so you can get the right information back.
Right. Tim, and I'll take the sidewalks a step further in my mind. I live in the middle of town. I call it the 6th Street Circus. And that's a favorable name in my mind, I'll be honest with you. I see people that are walking every day. And my wife and I, we're fortunate enough we walk our dog and we can do it for exercise, but there's a number of people that need to walk on the sidewalks to get to their job, to get to church, to do those things. We got to do a better job of improving those sidewalks to make sure that access is there around the schools as well. I know the program currently is a 50-50 program. Where the sidewalks are the worst are sometimes in our worst neighborhoods. And I don't know if the individuals that own those properties or the renters that or the landlords that have those, maybe they don't have the money to fix them up. There needs to be, I think, a more of a sliding scale, income-based scale of sidewalks. And, you know, I think that there is just the ability to do something a little different with our sidewalk program, make it more accessible to other people. And it may cost us a little bit more money, but the return on that for years and years to come is certainly better. I mean, some of the sidewalks we've got down now, you can look at the ones at the bottom of the heights. They still say Fairground Avenue. It hasn't been Fairground Avenue since 1944. I think we need to update those, but that does give you an idea of the investment that they made in that time. It lasted, you know, so the investments that you make in sidewalks are going to last a long time in our community.
Well, and to kind of hit on that, you guys both live in areas that have sidewalks. They might be
Yeah.
bad.
You don't even
I don't even
have
have sidewalks
sidewalks.
out in my area, and you've got a lot of kids in those neighborhoods that, you know, they have to walk on the road. I mean, luckily, most people in those areas know, hey, kids are going to be on the road, people are walking their dogs on the roads. But to have kind of safer sidewalks in that area would be really beneficial. I think it was maybe a couple months ago when we had like the water issues and parents came up to us and like, you know, not just drainage issues, but when we don't have sidewalks, if we don't have sidewalks, our kids can't even walk to school and it's a block away.
Right.
And we would love to be able to do that. You kind of tie that in with the investment that you see with the schools to
Honestly,
be able to offer those things.
Honestly, that's shameful. People a block away from Franklin can't walk to school because there's no sidewalks there. We have to do better as a city.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
No, there's no certain contractor that does the sidewalks. You get your own contractor.
You can get
You
your own
can.
contractor.
Under the current program, you can get your own contractor.
Right now, the
Does
city does
have
have
one that will do it.
Does the city have one? Yeah, we've got one
Yes.
we work
Yeah.
with. Yes.
So then, you're talking about the paperwork and it being a little slow and the price and everything. Then he ought to have a price per foot of sidewalk that's 3 foot 6 wide or foot wide or 3 foot wide. And be able to put that cost out there pretty quick.
Right.
You should know that upfront cost right
Because it's
away.
4 inches thick.
Yeah, because you get to some people like, I'd like to get it done. They might have the money to be able to do it, but they just don't know what they're doing or what they're getting invested in. And we do have, you know, programs throughout town that are able to kind of, hey, if I need help for that, not just a sidewalk program, but I know specifically in certain zones throughout town, you can apply for grants to improve your property. So you could even go a different route with that, but that's kind of now stepping out of the box and going in a different direction. But Councilman Grove's right, infrastructure is huge. I always consider it, the kind of analogy that I use is it's the artery and the veins of your city. I go, if those things are clogged up, broken, run down, people aren't going to be able to get around. It's going to be tough on business. It's going to be tough on individuals. And what happens? You get sluggish, you slow down, you die. It's not good. So you've got to constantly make sure you're exercising to make sure those are good. Well, in our case as a city, you got to constantly be making sure you're improving those things, improving the sidewalks, improving the curbs, improving the roads. You like that analogy? I see a little smirk over there.
I like that.
So do the
That's a
curbs
good way.
qualify on that 50-50 split thing too?
On the curbs, I think it's just sidewalks.
Just sidewalks?
Yeah,
The curb is actually the city's part.
yeah,
The curb is not the owner, the curb would be part of the
That's
street.
correct.
yeah.
Well, actually, sidewalks is cities too.
City-owned, responsible of the landowner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other big ideas, Councilman Grove?
I want to ask you, I called the state rep borders today, and a friend of mine was on a motorcycle in our organization and got hurt. group ride. And we're going around the curve out the country, and it was raining, hit some grass that they was cut and thrown out in the street, and 5 people got hurt, one died from it. There's an issue here in town with the same issue. I brought up the borders about this issue as a safety issue. 'Cause I've got grandkids, I rode out my motorcycle, my buddies have my grandkids that they ride out on their motorcycle, and I got my wife, and they got their wife riding with. You know, that's a safety issue. I brought this to Joe Yoakum, and I called the county sheriff and the city police, and I told her there's no ordinance to make the people not to put the grass in the road. It's a very bad habit, it's dangerous, it's a safety issue.
Yeah. So he's talking about grass that gets thrown on the road, and one of the nice things is we've got a lot of people that are proactive in town that have really been kind of advocating that. I've got a couple friends that are motorcycle people. If they do see that, they go and they talk to the property owner and be like, listen, you're going to hurt somebody if you do this. People that do landscape around town are really good about making sure that those things are cleaned up. But for a lot of people that don't ride motorcycles, they don't even know that that's an issue. So a lot of it's educating the people, letting them know that you can't do this. And we're a small enough community where I could go, hey, don't put your grass clippings in the road.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to listen to that, and they're going to be able to fix that problem. But a lot of it's education and getting the word out that it needs to be done.
Well, my issue was like maybe when I put it on Facebook, you know, and I try to help out because I know a lot of people. The other thing I was going to suggest, they can put a column in the newspaper, put it on the radio for the bullet. They got 2 different, they got an AM radio, and they got an AM radio. You know, they'll do that advertising for free. I think maybe you guys could do that. That way they would know not to do that. You know, I'm just thinking of safety for everybody. Because if they get hurt, a car's gonna hit them.
Right.
And then you got other vehicles involved.
No, those are good ideas. Yeah, I mean, getting information out is always a positive thing.
Safety, and there is another issue that comes with putting your grass clippings in the road, and that is reducing the capacity of our storm drains.
Oh, yeah.
It does clog those up, and in a time where it's been as wet as it's been right now, I think we've noticed that. You'll notice that almost every corner right now is flooded, and part of that is the debris that's in the streets. So adding to that by grass clippings doesn't help anyone anyway. That creates a safety issue as itself too. So please, as we're talking to you now, try to mind and take care. Make sure you blow those back in your own yard.
That, you know, if you notice, once you start doing something, your neighbor will start doing it. They see me out there with the leaf blower in the middle of the road, blowing my grass in and shoveling it up, and then the next week I see them doing it. And, you know, a sense of pride comes in to where, you know, you just take care of your property and, you know, you have effects on other people.
Yeah. Now my neighbors, when I see them blowing grass to the road, like he said, if I'm on the bike, I'll stop there, get off the bike, shut it off, or leave it running, turn the pool lights on and walk home. So would you please not blow your grass out on the street?
Sure.
I said, that's not for my safety, but there's a lot of people on 16th Street, on 15th Street, they're riding motorcycles. And some of us are better like myself.
Yeah.
I was on the street the other day where I saw somebody mowed, and when they mowed, they blew it all out here in the street. First off, that kind of looks a little crappy in front of your house with grass out the street. But it don't take much to blow it up and keep it cleaned up.
No, it doesn't.
So what else is going on?
Any big idea you can think of? 'Cause I've got a couple.
Well, I want you to fire away.
All right, well, one of the things that I think has been super successful in our community is if you haven't been there, I advise you to go there. 4 Lakes Park and the splash pad. Man, it's fantastic. And you can kind of go there, just enjoy it, because you kind of forget the 4 Lakes is there. You forget it's there. And you can go there, enjoy it. Little Salters love it.
No.
They're big, yeah, I know.
No, I can't imagine.
They're big fans of it until they run off in the tennis courts. But that was my mother watching that, not me. I was. So you've got that, but I think having that in that area, you can kind of put that in another spot. And I think there's a prime location in Chicago Park.
You and I are in agreement.
I think Chicago Park would be a great spot for a splash pad.
I was at Chicago Park last week and talked to some kids out there because it's in the district and I'm running. And I went over to press the button for the sprayer. They said, don't mess with it, doesn't work, hasn't worked for months. So it's like, why are some of the parks getting attention and some, like out the side of the
Right.
market?
And that's like, as we're talking about big ideas, like obviously these are things you kind of put up there, like possibly these are things that could happen, but put like a splash pad in Chicago Park, and my idea might be a little odd, but you have it like the skyline of Chicago. And I think that would be so neat just because that's just something that's kind of iconic. You know, Chicago Park's just there. You've got space there. You've got hookups that are there. And it'd be something that'd be really neat. And as someone that loves our parks, you would love to be able to see these kind of little amenities everywhere through town. And maybe people on that side of town can't get to the Four Lakes side. Or maybe it's too far away. And you kind of put that, it kind of splits the difference between those two. And it's just been super successful.
Yeah.
Well, there was 10 or 15 out there today. I just happened to.
Oh,
be out
Four
there
Lakes?
At the field, out to the softball field.
Keeping track.
And there was about 10 or 15. And it's not just kids, there was a couple, 3 adults there
Yeah.
having fun, I think.
Playing in the splash pad?
Was it you?
So I think one of the things that Tim has hit on, and you've hit on both, is the amenities in our community, and why those are so important to us. Not only do we get to enjoy them with our families and the people of Vincennes, but as economic development, as we talk about how we develop our community moving forward, we in the past, and I've talked about this before, and you've heard, I know some of you have heard this, but in the past we would go out, and not just our city, but every other city in the United States, we'd go out and we'd try to build a factory, and workers would come in, and your city would boom. And it worked for a long time. That was a good way to approach. But as times have changed, as people and the workforce has changed, what we're seeing now is that amenities are what people look for. They look for good schools. They look for good churches. They look for good housing. They look for things to do. And then they worry about a job when they get there. And I know that sounds completely backwards, but there's study after study after study out there that is now proving this. And how do we know this through study after study? It's all because of the phone that you're watching us on right now. It collects data every day, and it's showing these trends of where people are at. Actually, there's some really smart entrepreneurs now that are buying the data that is coming from your phones, and they're seeing where millennials are going to go eat, going to the bars at, or go wherever they go, and go shop. And now they're buying houses in those and redoing the houses there because they know that people are already there. So what we're doing now, what we're doing with the parks, what we're doing with food trucks, that's the steps that we need to continue to take. Better sidewalks, all those amenities to continue to bring and offer things here in our community that people want to stay for. If I have a great community that I can go eat on Monday nights, or I can go to take my daughter to the parks, or my wife and I can walk our dog, I'm more likely to stay here. I'm more likely to invest in our community, and I think people look to our community for that reason as well. And so it's economic development on top of those fun things that we get to do. We not only get to have great parks, but we get more people here to enjoy them with us.
And Mark hits on this study, and he always shares this stuff with me, so you kind of read through it. But the thing is, it always has examples of cities that you see, like, hey, this is working. And their cities our size. There are cities that have less to offer than what we do, and they are just booming. They are just growing. And you look at it, they're everywhere in the Midwest. They're in the South. They're in the far West. I mean, little small communities, because people want a taste of that. They don't want to be, I don't want to drive an hour to work. I don't want to have to pre-plan my week about travel. All right, what road's going to be busy? What road's not going to be busy? All right, do we have reservations for that? Like, are we going to be able to do that because it's too crowded? They want to be able to say, you know what, I want to go eat here, and 5 minutes later they're there. Or they want to go to the park and know that they can enjoy the playground equipment.
So I had this conversation with my superior today. He lives in Evansville, and he has to travel all over the place. And I talked about my wife and I's commute. Mine's 8 blocks, hers is 6 blocks. That time you get back at home is so valuable that it can't be replaced. Yeah. So being able to get to work in 4 minutes is a big deal for me. It's huge. I get to go home for lunch. Not everybody gets to do that. And that's one of the advantages our community has. So definitely. Yeah. What else?
Well, another thing, I'm going to hit the parks. I know you got a couple more too.
I do.
I think you
We're
do.
we may talk about fireman overtime.
That's a good one.
That is a good time.
That's a good one.
So one of the big things too, an area that I think is really unique for our town. You hear me talk about Gregg Park all the time. But to me, that's the big spot that I.
It's our Central Park.
It is our Central Park. But if you go around Gregg Park, a lot of improvements have been made. All right, you've got new equipment, you got new Rainbow Beach. The enclosed shelter's done. We're gonna have pickleball here in a couple weeks. Woo woo. Shout out to Big Mike Salters. He loves himself some pickleball. Now, the thing that you always kind of drive past and you forget about is the band shell. Now, I mean, people use it occasionally, but man, what if we redid that? What if we were able to have more festivals there? What if we were able to bring more people into the park? I mean, that thing is just asking to be redone. And every time I drive by it, I always catch myself kind of looking at it like, what can we do here? And I think the possibilities are basically endless because you just got so many community-minded people that want to have so many community things. We love that area. I mean, it's just ripe for something new to happen. And we proved that whether you're talking about the schools taking something old and making it better, where we've improved a couple things citywide, specifically at enclosed shelter, we can do it. And we know people, grants that are available. We know the people that can do those things. It is ripe. And I know I've talked to our Parks Department Director, Steve Beeman, about it. Like, man, that's something that we got to do. So
It's amazing how many local bands we have that would just love to have a day at the band shell. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Any questions?
It'd be a good way to kick them off. Years ago, they used to have a lot of bands and a lot of stuff going out there.
Yeah.
I thought they was gonna rework that at one time here, 4, 5, 6, 8 years ago.
Well, I know the thing that makes that complicated is because you've got city-owned property, and then right behind it is school-owned property. So whatever
It's
happens,
all connected.
yeah.
We just
what-
need to work
I think I know a guy that can help us work together on that. So, but I mean that's high on my list. Not just obviously the band shell's a big thing, but that field over there is very important to me and my family. So that structure.
Is it a baseball?
Soccer, isn't it?
Watch your
Soccer.
mouth.
Yeah, that's
Watch your mouth. But no, I mean, there's just so much history there. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's so important to this
But
community.
just minimal amount of, like, the issue, we had
There's
an
no-
event out there, there's no seating out there. And so, I mean, we're talking a minimal amount of finances, I would think, to get some seating. You get some seating there, and it's a done deal. People, I mean, the structure's already there. It's a done deal. Just get some seating. Come on, do it.
Yeah, there's already electric.
Fix it.
Fix it. Get it done. Get it
Fix it.
done.
A little bit of paint.
Yeah.
Little
I
bit
mean,
of
fix up some of the cracks and
But that's us.
kind of improve those things.
TLC.
Needs a little love and care, but we've done. I mean, we've proved it as a community. We can do that.
Yeah.
Where's old Gray knows that used to be the old fort. My idea is this, okay, I've been to a lot of different towns, a lot of different cities, okay? And the Veteran Memorial things are very big to the veterans and non-veterans. It's very educational for kids. When I was thinking along the Riverwalk, if you have some story things made up and put them along the Riverwalk, that would attract people here. Now, if that's what you want to do, I mean, it's just an idea. You're talking about extra income, so you're gonna get people come here from motels, eats, you know what I'm saying, lodging, and maybe even buy a house. So you're talking about improvement, that's the way to improve that. Because that's saving the cultural history and teaching our kids. Because if we're not educating our kids, what are we leaving behind?
Have there been any questions out there on Facebook?
Not on this one, and I don't see any at the moment
Okay,
on this
perfect.
one.
Sure. Any other big ideas you want to talk about? I mean, I can keep going. Like, I just sit up at night and think, what other things that we could do? I know, the Riverwalk. I know I'm park focused, but I spend a lot of time there. I mean, every night once it's nice out and it stops raining, I've got to run a lot of energy off of 4 little ones, specifically 2 boys. And if I get that energy run off, it's a good day. I've succeeded. But the Riverwalk's one of their favorite places. But there's really no shade. So we've got to figure out a way to bring shade to that area so people can kind of enjoy it, especially we're getting in those months where it's going to be pretty sweltering. And I think you're going to address that with the food trucks where you've got,
Yeah, we got the tables that we got have places for the umbrellas, so we're gonna have eventually umbrellas through every truck. So
yeah. So like there were some people that brought up concern like, man, it does get hot towards that time of day, specifically in the summer when we're talking, Indiana, 90 degrees with humidity. So how do you get shade? Well, Councilman Grove figured that out with a night. Those tables are great, by the way. If you haven't seen the tables, go for the food, but stay for the tables.
absolutely.
So those tables have the umbrella there, so it'll bring that shade to you. But if we could figure out some shade structures that would be unique to be able to put out there, I think that would really help during those, really sunny, hot times.
Yeah.
There are, I want to call them rainbow tarp-like things that I've seen in different cities. Can't remember, I think it's down in Chattanooga where we at. It's a park, and you just kind of go out like this. It's just like an awning, but it's out over a structure. It's real lightweight, I think. Something that probably could put up in color, with color in it. 3 or 4, 5, 6 down through there. It's something to be taken down in the fall. We don't want them up in the wintertime.
Well, even something like, I always think of stuff like those structures that we have at Rainbow Beach, even. If you've driven
big
past
shade
the big, those big shades where you could kind of get it, that's a neutral tone that would match with the new kind of structure that we have in the Riverwalk that you come in. Yeah. I mean, I think that'd be really neat. I mean, it's a neat area anyway,
It is.
but how do you continue to improve it to encourage people to go out there to those spots?
Yeah. Especially with the Mizex development going down there. I mean, it's going to. I mean, the popularity is going to boom in the next year or so.
It's all going to be cleaned up. And it's going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
So, let's switch gears just a little bit real quick, and then I know we've got maybe 15, 20 minutes that we want to stay on here, but we'll stay on as long as people are out there watching too. I want to hit on the transparency issue at City Council. And one of those ways to bring more people, just like you watching, to the City Council meetings. And I think that right now, it just seems like access is limited. And I know you two are both on the City Council. My ideas are to bring webcams and the availability of questioning, even move the meetings around, those kind of things, bring them into neighborhoods so people maybe wouldn't have to travel to City Hall, maybe even change the times at various times and promote that as well. I know my wife in the media would probably, she's cringing about that now that she's thinking about deadlines and how to get those in, but I think maybe a couple morning meetings, maybe hit that crowd then. When I was at the chamber, we used to have breakfast bandwagons, and we'd have a sponsor and people come in. They were always well attended until they weren't. And people started going back, getting away from it. Well, we switched to noon. And then we saw a great deal of more involvement and great more people coming to those. We have to figure out ways to do access. What are some of the things that you guys, I know you guys have thought about this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things is, how can we be more open? How can we get more information out? How can we get our opinions out? And people know specifically what we're thinking on an issue and know kind of the thought process and the work that goes into it. One of the things I'd love to see is the whole structure of a council meeting change, where people's questions is the priority and not just the simple reading of the ordinance, or the media's question is the priority. Because right now what you have is like an open period maybe at the end, and that's about it. And people don't feel really comfortable to come up and talk. So after you get through the rigmarole of this is what we did last week, any petitions, memorials, remonstrances, then hey, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. Instead of jumping right into business, just open it up to.
Do you have any questions? All right, maybe somebody's got a question from last meeting. Maybe they just got a question that they haven't got answered, or maybe they just thought of something they want to have it. And then you have a time where you can answer those questions. And then specifically too, after every ordinance or every resolution, you have a time for questioning. Like, all right, we went through this. Does anyone have a question over it? And be open about it, not just sit there, because you need to be more open about it. Like, we welcome questions. We want questions, not an atmosphere of we don't want questions. And then towards the end, after you finish everything, maybe there's something that I said that was confusing or you wanted clarified. Because sometimes I think what I'm saying is clear, and it might not be.
Yeah.
So it needs to be clarified. So then you can ask questions there at the end. All right, we finished the meeting. Are there any more questions? None at the time. I would love then at that point for the media to have time to question us as a group publicly, with our mics on the record, so then they could be like, well, you said this. What does this mean? And then we all have to kind of sit there and listen to a response from one of the council members, and then we go forward. And if we've got something else that we can add to that, then we go from that. But it's all about, it's changing the whole dynamic, or it's a complete paradigm shift where you're not as open to questions, to where questions are the priority. Getting information from the people is a priority. That's where the focus should be.
So in that same vein, it brings accountability to those elected officials. The public is the people that vote you into office are the people that are the owners of our city. They own the process. They are the ones, you are the ones that we need to hold every elected official accountable for their actions. And the best way to do that is questions. Ask them. For the most part, I know, and for as long as I've been going, these two will answer any question when the opportunity is there. Sometimes they're not even given the opportunity to be asked questions. It kind of gets shut down a little bit. So providing a time that would allow the public, the media, and whoever else to chime in is certainly there. And Facebook Live allows questions right there. Maybe they're not, maybe that's something you bank in and you answer at the next meeting. Maybe you can't answer those through Facebook at the time of the meeting because it could slow it up. But maybe that's something that those things could be addressed as you go. There has got to be a way to create more access to the public. I mean, we're on a silly radio show. I was on a silly radio show before this, and we have webcams sitting in front of us, and it's Facebook Live the entire time. I mean, and that's a radio show that doesn't mean anything. You know, everything that's being done at the city council affects all of us every day. It affects our police, our fire, our street department, our sidewalks, our roads. It affects everything. So there has to be more input by the city and I say the residents of Vincennes.
Well, I think that's easy too is technology has just given us a tool that we can get the information out there easily. I'd like to see a City Face YouTube page where we bank all these things. So here's the meeting. All right, here's the date. So yesterday's meeting, 6/24/19, and then in the description, this is what was discussed.
Once again, accountability. You said this on this day.
Right.
Why is it different today? You know,
that's good though. And dialogues.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be afraid. Like I shouldn't be worried that so and so might be upset that I said. But it's my opinion. We can disagree. I know you and I disagree. You and I disagree,
Absolutely.
and it's okay. But we still get along.
Well, yeah.
But the thing is, we've got to get past that, being afraid that we're going to be so mad at each other that we're not going to like anything. I mean, my mom and I disagree on a lot of things, and that's okay. She still loves me dearly.
Not a lot of things.
Not a lot.
If
Not
you're
a
so
lot.
afraid of upsetting
Got you
somebody,
straightened
I
out.
think
then
that
you're in the wrong business.
I think that disagreement creates an innovation. You know, it creates different ideas.
Dialogue.
You know, that dialogue in between in a respectful manner
Yes.
creates a better outcome for everyone.
This is something that I've talked about a lot too. I mean, we're a small community. We go to school with these people. Our kids go to school with these people.
I
We go
see
to
them at the grocery store.
We go to church. Like, what are we afraid of?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that we should be afraid of. Like we might have a different opinion. Cool. Because then it's like, all right, if that doesn't work for you and this doesn't work for me, what will? What can we kind of figure out here? I mean, we like each other. We like our community. All right, let's figure it out.
Yeah. Well, on this same avenue, I really challenge everybody to be more involved, to come and ask questions, or everybody out there has at least 3 council members that represent them. And it's one of the biggest disappointments I've had on being on council is the lack of phone calls and the lack of input from the constituents that have elected us, not participating, so not calling. And so I think these are avenues that would help that. Because I think a lot of people don't understand that they have input and they can come and participate.
I think that comes from, I'm coming from the outside here and talking. I think a lot of times, back to this transparency issue, There's a number of people that I've talked to in the public that think the decision's already been made. It's made before the meeting. And that's disappointing that our public feels that way, but there's a reason why they must feel that way.
We have to do the things to change the whole perspective.
Absolutely.
Instead
That's what
of
we're talking about.
being a group that people see up there like, well, they're not going to listen.
They're not going to listen.
Or they're not. Like, I'm going to ask a question. What are they going to do? They're going to
My opinion
criticize
doesn't
me.
matter. Your opinion
Yeah.
absolutely matters.
We've got to completely change that to where that's the priority. That's not the back burner. That's what we're looking forward to. I'm going to a council meeting not to look at an ordinance or a resolution. I'm going there to hear. I'm going there to listen. What questions do you have? What's going on in the city? Because where I live in my area, I might not see those things. It might be something completely different. You might have a completely different experience throughout that week.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. Where I live out on 16th Street, in the county, they repaved that road. Where the city owns it, it's got a bunch of potholes in it. Right? And the respect right by the railroad track is bad. There's other places in that area that is bad, that belongs to the city, not to the county. Okay? Trying to get somebody on the county board, the city board, it's kind of hard to put that together. Because you call one and one tells you call the other, so you get the runaround. So then you get to the point you give up on it. Well, I haven't given up on these issues that I'm bringing to you now. But there's more potholes in the city here, okay? Going back to the bike issue, okay? Cars, you get a bull on a bad pothole, okay? I busted 3 tires on a pothole here in town. That's $100 a tire every time I get a bounce. That's $6 on me. The city don't pay for that.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring that to your attention.
And one of the things I think we do better than some cities, like we still have a lot of potholes, we still have some issues with roads.
It was a
But-
bad winter for.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, we're still catching up with some of the stuff that's there. But if you compare it to like some of the other cities, even the bigger cities that are around us, like we're ahead of the game when it comes to that. But now, do we need to be better? Of course we do. We've got to get better at that. And one of the things, our older website, which is supposed to be updating, it's got a quick link where you can put your address on the city website, you know, www.vincents.org, right there on the right-hand side, it says Pothole Patrol. You click it, you put your address on it, or put the street, submit, and it goes straight to the mayor's office, goes straight to our street and sanitation department. And then they get that message, and they go from there.
And they are-
Usually
they are
they're pretty
addressing-
quick.
they are pretty
As long
quick.
as there's not water
Yeah.
in the pothole, it's usually addressed within 24 hours.
Yeah, it's fun to do because you can see how long it takes them to get addressed.
I'll
I
get that
don't
for
know,
you
you
later.
filled
Yep.
in potholes in front of my place there about twice so far, and still there's a pothole there.
Yep.
Yeah.
To your point on 16th, where it changes from city to county, there certainly needs to be a little more communication between the city and county
That's
going forward.
what I was bringing up.
Well, and that's-
There is an issue there.
And when one is doing a project that would end at the other line, I think that those need to be done at the same time.
Well, I was like, are we rotating?
I just rotated. I'm sorry, I just rotated.
Is this like volleyball or
I
is
just
one sort of
rotated.
serve?
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, I went over to
that goes back to like what we talked about is transparency and being open.
See how easily I did that?
I know, it's like, man, what is he trying to do?
Good job. You got him where you just.
I know, it's like I'm trained, like come right here. But the big thing is transparency and being open, not just within the city government, because I mean, we live within Knox County, so we've got to be able to work with the county.
Yeah.
And we've got to expand those lines of communication. We've got to be better at, hey, this is our responsibility, this is your responsibility, but hey, let's work together
Yeah.
on these gray areas
Common
and
cause.
these specific issues that we need to get to. And we are getting better because it has, I mean, when I first got in, it was almost like county does their stuff, city does their stuff. There's no cross-pollination.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely we're starting to get there. And I would love to see maybe even a specific, whether it be a committee that deals specifically with, you know, that's all you do. Now I've got like intergovernmental relations, which is a big title that's just kind of a catch-all. But one that deals just specifically with city county relationships and how we're going to work together to improve those.
I like that.
I have a question.
Okay.
The city council, the members serve on different committees, correct?
Yeah. Well, some.
I mean, about how many committees do you have?
Ooh.
Two. Most people.
Most
serve
people head a committee, and then they serve on a committee.
And it's not just something that is just amongst the city council members, but you are representatives of the city council to serve on outside organizations.
Right. So we've got committees within the city council that we serve on,
Which are
where
only council
we're
members.
only council members.
So is your question, how many
But-
of those?
How many board, like,
Okay.
do we,
But those committee, those council members that serve on organizational boards outside of the city council,
right,
don't you all serve in some capacity on outside groups? For instance, Scott Brown is the city's representative on our board. So I'm sure that there are other committee members that serve on other boards.
right, but not every board.
Right, and
So-
those are appointments. Those are city council appointments to boards.
Do they not report to you? How do they disseminate the information that they gather at these other meetings to the city council to keep you updated?
Hmm.
That is a problem.
That's one of the things, and I've kind of hit on this too, that we need to be able, like, hey, here's this committee, you need to bring back the information to us, and you kind of lay it out. Because currently, it's, you got to ask for it before you get it, instead of it being presented to you. And once again, that's that whole changing the mentality of bringing the information to us and laying it out, not just for us, but I'm sure there's people that want to know what's going on in those areas.
I haven't attended a lot of city council meetings, but we're making an effort to do so, to learn,
Right.
Yeah.
and to question and to be more involved. And I know that there are some that serve on these outside boards, and I've yet to hear a report, and I'm thinking, I'm at the meeting and see the city council representative. How are you not getting this information? Or when something is brought up to you, it's like, well, I didn't know about that. Well, you should have, because your representative for the city council attended the meeting. Why were you not informed of that?
See, I don't know if that's something that is just, hey, that's the way it's been done, because
Shouldn't it be a part of your meeting?
oh, I agree 100% that, hey, lay the information out in front of us so we can have it, so then, hey, we can make our own decision in the end, or
We've named
we
you
can
the
stay informed.
Board XYZ. Give us a report from Board XYZ. Please,
Even if it's a simple email of minutes or something like that, some way to keep us informed, because we don't hear about things
No.
until somebody
Get away
else.
from the email.
uh,
It needs to be
do it in
presented
public.
at the
It
meeting.
should be in public.
yeah, well, and that's a way to get the information.
Minutes of a meeting, like I said, if they just send us the minutes,
but then
We should be
discuss it.
privy
Discuss
to
it should
the
still
to the
happen.
But there
minutes.
should be an official report on record.
I would agree.
Absolutely.
yeah, oh, I
I
100%
think that
agree.
there should be an
Yeah,
official
I 100%
report on
agree.
record.
And that's one of the things too, I kind of.
Back to the transparency issue.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's all
Just-
transparency. And the thing is, and there's some boards that we don't even have members go to that are vitally important, that have hundreds of millions of dollars that go through it, or just, tens of thousands. Well, I mean, when you talk about like our USB board, when they're dealing with all the infrastructure and things like that, I mean, we have an appointee that goes to that board, but does a city council person go there, sit just to stay informed with that? And those are things that we're trying to look at, like, well, I mean, when we talk about picking leadership, I think these people should be at these meetings
Part of those.
and should be the voice there. Because one of the big things that I tried to do was put people from the council and appoint them to these boards that we have appointments to, so the council has more of a say. Well, I mean, sometimes it gets touchy with some people. So then the idea is, well, if we're not going to do that, well, our leadership positions should be at those meetings and be there.
So back to this point, I serve on the redevelopment commission. The council has 2 appointments to the redevelopment commission. Very rarely has the council asked or required those individuals to come to council to discuss what's going on at the redevelopment commission. Redevelopment commission, we get almost $2 million a year in taxpayer dollars doing Main Street, doing a lot of the other things. Council needs to be aware of that situation. the two board members are great board members. They just have no direction right now from council because it seems like at times they don't care. To be honest with you, they're too busy doing other things. They need to keep that information flowing, and those requirements need to be in place.
Well,
Maybe
another
a
thing too,
council
like,
member should even be on the board.
If you ask the board, they'll come.
Yeah.
There's not been a time that we haven't asked the board, like, hey, I've got a question on this, and I really need more information. They're there every time.
But those requirements shouldn't, I don't even know if they need to ask. Those should be requirements put in place. Hey, you're gonna serve on this board, we need at least once a quarter
You
a
have
report.
a time for reports
Yeah,
in
do
your
it.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, all we
They
gotta
should
do is
all
just
be
have it there.
Yeah.
Ask,
No,
I mean, you
those
set
are-
the
If,
schedule.
if there's nothing to report, I mean, that's one thing,
There's-
but there's something.
There's always something.
But if you're doing something like Mark said, like quarterly, within that time period, so you have 4 big reports throughout the year, there'd be something there that you can go through.
And the people the public, once again, is better informed.
But the council should be informed on an ongoing basis because you may feel that there's something that does need to be brought forward before quarterly
Yes,
report
I
or
agree.
whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when there are times, but I just think it's important. I think it's important I mean, I sat there and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is all there is to this meeting?
Yeah.
A multi-million-dollar corporation couldn't run on two meetings a
No.
month that last 10 minutes. They couldn't do it. So something else is going on.
Well, when
And
you
that's-
go to the city council, they have $361,000 worth of bills. I make a motion we pay them. Whoa, wait a minute.
What are those bills?
Now, I talked to Tim about this. I know it's probably several of them, and probably some of them are weekly payroll or bi-weekly, however they get paid. But there may be some in there that's, I've got a
We need to
question why
discuss
you're
what they
paying
are.
that.
If they're payroll,
You know,
say they're payroll.
But,
If they're this,
you
say
know,
they're this.
just to make a motion to pay the bills or and second it and vote on it, and then they vote it, yeah. Some of the people on the council sit up there like, oh God, I gotta be here for 15 minutes. It gets a little bit pathetic. They ought to be excited they are on the city council, every one of them. I know a couple of them are crazy, but they ought to be really involved in setting up and really tentative that they're sitting there, you know, and that's a drag to me. And you talk about the emails, Brian, there's too much email and going back and forth that's not being let out. People can find out about those emails and text, and just all new technology has gotten way out of hand. That's the reason why kids are the way they are today, because they got too much in front of them. And we need to stay away from some of that and, like say, talk about it and discuss it more in front of everybody. If that meeting takes an hour, it takes an hour. You're getting paid to go out and be sitting there in that seat.
Yeah. I got no problem sitting there and going over these things.
It's your job.
It's
Yeah.
very important. I know, like, in my perspective, when we talk about claims, one of the first things I do is kind of scroll through those. And then if I see something, the first person I usually call, it's right here to my right, and see if
Which usually happens Friday. We get the
Detail.
claims and the packet by email on Friday at the latest, and some of us will open those Friday. I look forward to getting that packet. I always, I'm looking forward to getting that because it gives you Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
it gives you time to go over it.
look over it.
Or we're
And
texting each other like,
do
"You got the packet yet?
do some
You got the
investigation.
packet yet? I need the packet."
Yeah, but
Couple of kids.
sometimes I agree with you. There are sometimes where those aren't getting opened until 5:55,
Yeah.
and I do agree with you there. And one thing you were saying about the email between, and a lot of people think that's an issue. I know those are the computers that we have now are you can ask to see those at any time. I mean, my email is always open for somebody to look and come and see what I'm getting. And I'd be happy to open that up to
How
anyone.
long did that take me? 2 or 3 days to read all them?
Well, right now I got about 500 unopened emails, but you're more than welcome. Yeah, search through there, just council.
Talk around that point about when an elected official uses a public email, it is open to the public.
It's the public's.
It's the
It's
public's.
the public's.
That's just the way it is.
Yes.
And those need to be.
And we all, I'm sorry, but I was just going to finish on this, but most of us use our personal emails.
That was my question.
yes.
Why do you not have?
Because we're
working on that.
working on updating the website so everything goes through
Yeah.
the city
I
server.
think that if you use your personal email for city business, those emails are open.
Yes.
Absolutely. And yeah.
They are. They just are.
Yeah.
And that's by law,
That's,
yeah.
I know what he was saying. Okay, this county and city is with this town and Bicknell, okay? Now, I see a lot of people, because I ride going to Indy on 67, because I like going through that way. I've seen a lot of people on electric scooters and wheelchairs going up and down that road on bicycles. Okay, it's a very dangerous road to be on, okay? I've seen been in Indy, Evansville, Terre Haute, they got bicycle lanes for them people, so they can travel to wherever they're going safely. A lot of people ride them wherever they live out in the country, in the town, to go to a doctor, okay? Being on all three of them. Somebody issued through the city with the county, couldn't you guys get together and arrange something like that to help them people out?
Now, one of the things that we've done 3 years ago or 2 years ago, we changed the complete streets ordinance. So like anytime we improve a street, you look to see if you can get sidewalks, bike lanes,
Yeah, I see you
curbs.
guys do that.
All right, so every time we look at a street, that's one of the things that we look at. Can you incorporate those into those? When we looked at bigger grant programs together as a city and the county, we're starting to look more into that as a group, because what the state's done is they kind of package it in a region instead of just a specific area. So there were conceptual ideas for more bike lanes that would connect the county and the city, and more walking trails that combine the county and the city. So that process of starting to get there, I mean, it's getting there, but it's kind of a slow process of kind of combining, well, these are the big plans that I want, these are the big plans that we want. Now, how do we mingle these two areas to make it better for both the county and the city?
And that rebuttal, I got an answer to that. There's a federal government grant that you can get, because the city can get money for handicapped and bicyclist people to help improve that, okay? Now, being a DAV rep, I help veterans with their benefits. There's regulations for benefits for veterans that I know of. And when I checked on that, I checked out some state statute stuff, okay? And the reason I come here is to help notify you guys what I know and try to help you guys out, okay? There is federal grants that this city can apply for to make them improvements.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
what-
no cost to the taxpayer.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we gotta get better at. We gotta write better. We gotta get better at writing grants. And we're getting. I mean, we've got more grants since I've been in, that I've realized that we've actually gotten those grants. So the thing is, writing specific grants to get what we need. Yeah, we can get better at that. And I think those are things in areas that we can improve on.
Yeah, I just want to bring that up because a lot of people at city council don't know that. A few years back, I mentioned it, and it got ignored. I mean, the things I'm thinking about, okay, you got kids just walking down through that way, you got older people that like just go for a walk because they got a bad heart.
Yeah.
You know, and the doctor tells them to do it. Okay, so where's the areas that they go at? They gotta go out to the cemetery, go on the river over here, or what if they live out in the country? And you go to the councilman, and he said, well, there's nothing I can do for you.
Who's the councilman around on Bunker Hill around that area?
That's a county.
County.
That's a county.
Yeah, well, who,
I am not sure. Is
Is that
that
District 2? It's either
I think that would be
It's
Ellerman
either-
for commissioners.
it's either Randy or Lechner.
Yeah. I think it's Randy.
I think it's Randy.
Yeah, Randy.
So
Randy
does the
Christmas.
city have access to a grant writer? I mean, is there somebody on staff? Do we have city staff person who is a grant writer? I mean, with
No.
the plethora of grants available, we don't have anyone that we,
That would make sense.
It would. It's a
You
good
could,
idea.
you could pay for the position.
That's a nice big idea.
Yeah.
I
That is.
mean, I could find someone who could actually find their own
You know, the
funding.
grant, so let's talk about a grant writer.
Yeah.
Grant writer itself, for at least the first 2 to 3 years, maybe won't get a grant.
Right.
A lot of times you file grants and they get rejected based off of you didn't put the right word in the right box at this time, just for a
It's a
reason.
skill.
It's a
Yeah.
skill. And it's learning each individual grant. So I think where we have fallen down over time with the city, the county, all these positions is that we're not very patient and we're not willing to let them fail a number of times and continue to pay them.
Yeah.
But we need to have that patience with those individuals that would be writing those grants and understand that it would take a couple, 3 years to get those in. Instead,
Takes a lot of
we
time.
It
end up
takes some training.
It takes a lot of
I
time.
mean, it
right?
it does, it
Some
just
training,
takes
I mean.
time. It takes time and
Yeah.
effort and training, and we have to be patient. Now, what we end up doing is hiring other groups to do that. They take a cut, out of that administrative cost, which we could end up doing it ourselves. I think that's an outstanding idea that has been at least broached at one time, but the lack of patience has not allowed it to come to fruition.
We
I'll
got
tell
some
you
of the
who
younger
does
adults.
a really good job on grants is our fire department.
Okay.
The things that they come through with their grants, it just simply amazes me. They'll come and display a new item, Justin.
So who has road grants for the fire department? A little bit of everybody?
There's been a couple individuals from the state, but then the firefighters union has access to Washington DC,
there you go.
national grant
So
writers.
you
And we've offered, I know I've offered a lot in the past that's not been utilized, just basically told no. But they also have done a lot of grants too. But there's a lot out there for fire departments.
Yeah.
Just need to be allowed.
Fire
to
and
go
police
through.
and all those, but they have to have, I think we need a city,
No,
even if it's a
we have somebody.
city-county joint venture
Oh, yeah.
to ensure that we have maybe a staff writer.
Yeah, I mean, throw as many grants out there as we can. I mean, if they're out there, what's
You
the
get one out
harm?
of 100, who
Yeah.
cares
What's the
which one
harm?
you
what
get?
is the harm?
Right.
There's churches that are sending students go to church, become ministers, and become attorneys. Okay, to help the churches out. The reason why I know this is because I've done some follow-up on this, which I'm working on myself. Okay? What I'm trying to tell you is you can get somebody that's like that, be you, that's learning the bulk of that, and they know somebody, like maybe a professor knows somebody that knows how to write those grants. Okay? That's the way you guys can check that out. I mean, I just want to throw that at you, try to help you out.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Ed, did your question get answered? I'm
Yes.
sorry.
It was about why city council they have personal email instead of city.
Yeah, we've been trying to work on that for a couple of years, and
Should be
hopefully.
tim@cityofvincennes.com. That's
Yeah.
how you should email me.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. But I think they're working in that direction.
Yeah, we're trying to get those improvements taken
You know,
care
when
of.
I first came on, you still picked up your packet in a manila envelope that was about that thick with all the claims on it, and I think that was
So all
a
that
big
stuff-
improvement. You know,
Yeah, because I kept a
Yeah.
laundry basket in the back of my car.
So all that stuff should be online, on SharePoint, available for anybody in the public to be able to see. They should be able to go to the city website, pull up a PDF document of this council meeting and see the entire claim list and everything.
Yeah.
That's
And
what it should
That
be.
was one of my ideas that, that is a 4-year term. So at the end of the 4 years, what do you have to give the next person that may take your position? And if I am not reelected, I will be able to hand a jump drive or my Surface over to the next person with all that information right there. They can look up what we did the last 4 years and see every meeting, every agenda, every claims packet. It is all right there, where in the past, you had literally, the people that, were going out when I came in, gave me baskets of papers, and I didn't go through them because it's overwhelming. I mean, there's no way that you could sit through and thumb through
No
and
organization.
find your yeah. So
Well, and continue to do the job at hand.
right.
Right.
So we're behind the times.
We're getting,
We're getting there. We're
We're getting there. And the
We're
thing is,
gonna get
too,
there.
think about it. If those things are on there, maybe you catch something that I don't see.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, Tim, did you see this? No, I didn't. I mean,
So
more
part-
eyes on something is always better.
So part of, and I've said this before, part of my hope of running is that even if I don't get elected, and I hope I do, I hope that people allow and go out and vote. at least we push the council, the current council, in the right direction to make things more transparent. At least we bring these issues to light, and hopefully I'm there to help push them forward and make it go. But if I'm not, maybe we've done our job and moved them forward too. And I hope those things happen. So that's a very honest, real answer.
Now, before we kind of close, we've kept you. Do we have any questions that we want to ask before we go?
Deaton, are there any questions online?
Unfortunately, yours died, but yeah.
I'm so sad.
Nobody can contact you for the rest of the night.
Oh my God.
Can't call him now.
Yeah. Good.
So,
We're good.
Nothing.
All right, so one of the things I want to end with, if you see us out and about, stop us. Tell us what you think's going on in the city, what you think needs to be improved, what you really like and want to see celebrated in the city. Because there's, like, to me, there's just so many great things that are happening in the city. Sometimes we do miss it because we have our own little areas that we go. But
if you like our videos, tell us. If you hate our videos,
tell us. But feel free to contact us anywhere. You can contact me off the Salters for City page or by my phone number, 812-890-0094. You get a hold of Mark.
Mark McNeese, elect Mark McNeese for City Council on Facebook. You can also call me, 812-890-1442. Anytime you want, you can get a hold of me.
I've given out my number, 812-881-5048. My Facebook page, Brian Grove, or Brian Grove City Council District 1 is up and going, or find us out in public. We're all out. So don't be shy and ask us anything.
Most of the
Tell
time
us
they see my
anything.
daughter or my dog before they see us, but yes, you can see us, let us know.
Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we've done wrong. And we're not going to shame you.
Yeah. All right, I think it's been a good one. Oh, before we go, next Gracie's conversation. We're going back to Gracie's, where it all started. Back to Gracie's.
I'm just glad you have a beard again.
I know. I feel my face felt naked. It's Tuesday, July 30th at 6. We'll be at Gracie's, and we do have a special guest.
Our special guest will be John Stengel.
Yeah, he's really excited to be able to
He's
do
running
this.
in District
3.
Guys, thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed this. Continue out.
Gosh, I love being right next to you. It's like council.
It's just like home.
All right, have a good one.
Have a good night.
So Brian, I know that there were no